you have the floor. Thank you very much to RootedCON. They were impressive in everything they did. They made a huge effort to bring me here. So thank you everyone for coming back from lunch so fast. I'll be telling you about a very interesting project that was started some time ago. But before that, let me take the opportunity to invite you to come along to a conference in security that we are organizing in Buenos Aires in Argentina on the 4th and 5th of June of this year. Workshops and things, a nice excuse to go away from the heat of the summer in Spain. That's the basic info for the conference. A couple of speakers have been confirmed already. And by the way, I have 2 t-shirts to give away for those that give us an answer quickly. 2 questions that I have to pose later on. So, let me start. Back in 1995, I had an idea to block a computer using hardware. At that time, I was very young and I was interested and intrigued by this new thing, the internet. So I was thinking about the typical Hollywood situation where someone is using a computer, a laptop, in a bar, and I was wondering what happens if someone takes my equipment from me physically. By the way, who uses disk encoding techniques? Lots of people. Who uses hardware encoding? Well, software reduces performance, but it's okay. So then we have disk encryption. If our laptop is stolen, we may be certain that we will miss the equipment itself, but the information will be safe. And then inside the equipment, inside the laptop, we also have an operating system where we can encrypt the boot part or the home part or certain file systems. And that is protected under a key file, a certain file, biometrics, whatever. But when we talk about all of these things, the Achilles' heel, if you like, is when the laptop has been unblocked. Because all those protection items that we have introduced have been circumnavigated, if you like. So we have our encoded things in place, but once it is unlocked, if we are using it, we could have problems, we could be in trouble. So a very simple idea came to my mind, so that the laptop allows for authentication using a second device which must be closer, which must be close, physically speaking. How about a hardware device? It could be something connected to your wrist. If someone takes my laptop from me, the USB connection will be terminated and the laptop will be disconnected. There are some things in the market, some work over Bluetooth. I don't like this that much because it's wireless, but there is a couple of devices out there that are connected via hardware to the laptop. I'll show you how I came about with this years ago and how this can be configured nowadays. Obviously this is open source, this is something you can do yourselves. 2 steps only in my investigation. Any type of implementation can always be reduced to 2 steps. If it cannot be reduced to 2 steps, additional work will be needed. Step 1, we need to find a way to read the device so that the device identifies in a unique way with my laptop with no possibility of cloning, okay? So a unique way to read. Step number 2, how to block the laptop. So then for step number 1, I started thinking and I said, should we use a file system? We can enable that file system with a certificate, a key, a PGP key or whatever. If that file is there, fine. If that file is not there, there is a problem. But I didn't like the idea because that information can be copied. You can actually access that information if you gain access to the laptop, even momentarily. So I didn't like the idea. I then went to the UUID, the unique ID for each device. You can clone it, but you have to modify the firmware. It's much harder. So we're basically minimizing risks, minimizing attack vectors. Very simple. Who's using Linux here? Spectacular. Everything in Linux is a file. Everything happening in a laptop is a file. Some can be read, some can be written. So, handling devices of any sort, be they solid, be they through USB, hard disk drives, whatever, they're all files. So, we register the new device using this and use a unique identifier, and then do checkups every 10th of a second, for example, to see if the device is still there. That's it. For step number 2, the actual blocking of the system, I decided to use dbus. Who knows dbus? Lots of people. Wow, good vibes. Excellent. Good stuff. You will not allow me to say lies. dbus is a very robust tool, very powerful tool. It is an IPC software, inter-process communication. That means that all communication between applications and between applications on the operating system goes through dbus. dbus monitors everything. dbus can even handle software and hardware interrupts, which is where we will go to today. This is a very strong piece of software. Therefore, you need to have privileges. It's in ring 1. This is no joke. Anything underneath the dbus is already the kernel, so it's very strong. It talks directly to the kernel. It is so close to the kernel that the operating system is irrelevant. And obviously it is present in most X environment, in GNOME, in KDE, whatever. I'll show you quickly a QDBus tool that allows you to talk to dbus using the console. I'll be running QDBus in my laptop, and it will show me all the things that QDBus can do with me and for me in my user session. We here have a large number of things, as you see. You can handle the session, you can handle Gala. Pantheon is a distribution. Forgot the name. Elementary. Elementary is based on Ubuntu, but it can be based directly on Debian. You can install Debian and then install the packages to make it become Gala. Elementary, sorry. So you can use kind of like a Unity, the dock on the screen, screensaver. You can handle basically everything. The Pulse audio server, the secrets, all the logins that have been cached in my session. These are handled, these are stored and handled by dbus. I can list them and see what information there is. Most of these things can be stored in flat files. For example, I can alter the configuration of my Wi-Fi networks and change SSIDs or passwords, whatever. But instead of looking at text files, it looks at objects. And since you can call objects, you can instance an object. Well, there's lots of things you can do. And you can also handle the keyring for the current session for GNOME and several other things. There's an endless list of things you can do with dbus, depending on the functionalities we have in our laptop. But in general, it is very powerful. If I now go into QDBus and I ask him to tell me about the system, there's a few other things which are quite interesting. Power, accounts. I can handle HAL, which I love. I can handle devices through UDisks, networks, the modem, whatever. Let me show you quickly. QDBus, manage my system. Let's see the accounts. I'll get into the accounts. I'll copy. And then I'll do a call to org.freedesktop.accounts. This is the object handling all the accounts that are active in this laptop. 2 users come up. User 1000 and user 104. If I do this quickly, user 1000 is catch-all, and if I do 104, that's the light display manager. So what can I do with this apart from doing cat? I can ask it to show me what we can do to use it with user 1000. Absolutely everything we can do. In here, let me minimize it. Here we see, can you still see it? Yes. I have all the things there listed, all the things we can do, the properties that we have here, the read properties. For example, the background file, the email, the format applied for the currency, date and time, location, home directory, lots of extra pieces of information that wouldn't be that easy to get if we were looking for the files. But it's not just that. I'm talking about objects. We can have instances of objects we can interact with through an application we can develop in whatever language. So we can say what the shell is for this user. We can find out whether this is a system account. So let me ask, user 1000 system account, false. However, if I ask for user 104, part of GDM, that's true, it's a system account. From then on, I can go into many other things about availability. But that is not everything. We can do other things. We can do settings. We can ask it to go for set icon file. We can go for the Boolean variable, for set locked. And here, the password is requested. If instead of asking about the account, I ask about how, it will give me information about every single device connected to the laptop. Those that are on board and those that are peripherals. The USB for my remote control can be recognized. The LCD projector can be detected together with the brand name and everything. So I can select any of these. For example, the battery.
Le voy a decir, decime todo lo que tengas de la batería.
So I can ask it to tell me about the battery. Everything I can do with the battery. Regarding properties, so that we find out how much battery is left, how many cycles, what useful life cycle we have, the watts, the amps, everything about the battery. And then different remove things. By software, we can disconnect the battery for better use of that battery. This has the developer in mind, of course, but we can go one step beyond and make it even more interesting. Let me show you a very simple demo of the application I did using Python.
Lo que voy a hacer es...
What I'll do now,
en este momento, todos los discos...
these are all the data, the disk drives. SDA, the primary disk with all the partitions. This I could also get, of course, with dbus. And I will get the root for the objects, but that wouldn't apply to this demo. So I'll connect this. I'll connect this little pen drive that I got for this demo. There's nothing important in it. And I'll now see a list. We have the SDB. So I'll now ask it to show me all the files that were allocated in the system as soon as the pen drive was inserted. Here we see this at the bottom. SDB established this ID, data traveler 109 and so on and so forth, with a serial number which belongs to this pen drive. So I'll copy this. I'll go to the right directory. By the way, I use Nano so that we can see the different things in different colors. Okay, different colors is a helpful thing. Here we have data for different devices from different demos. All I will do here is to paste that file. What it does is it calls the object. We do dbus session bus. Why not system bus? Because this belongs to my session. I don't need to speak to the system. Session bus. So I call this object screensaver. We'll talk to the screensaver. See, I have Pantheon responding as if it was genome. So we store this, we save this. Yeah, it was at the bottom. We don't know whether this will work or not, the demo effect. Anyway, the pen drive was inserted. I'll now execute locker. It's running now. I remove the pen drive and the laptop is blocked. As simple as that. It doesn't matter whether you insert the password correctly. It will not unblock. It will unblock and block again in 0.1 second. Authentication at the level of the operating system is still there, but there's something stronger beneath it called dbus, which is telling you, I don't care, I like your password, I like your username, fine, but I'm blocking you because you don't have the pen drive. I'm blocking this heavy stuff. When we insert the pen drive again, we insert the password, and there it goes.
Y ahí estaba re contento, se lo queda el equipo, qué lindo, me lo...
So that's it. I tested it. I asked a friend to remove the laptop from me. There's a lot of implementations in this sense. I saw this in a conference in Hungary, for example in a Fitbit. If they go too far away from the laptop gets blocked. But I wanted to go one step beyond. What else can you do? You can make an alarm, a sound alarm go off. You can send an email with certain data. For example, from this moment on, don't trust me because my laptop was stolen. You can switch the laptop off. You can delete private keys, encode certain files, or destroy the entire hard disk. It takes a while, but once the guy is taking the laptop, there's a self-destruction in place. Limit is your imagination only. So I said, great, easy. So let's go into something more difficult. So I was wondering, could we unblock a laptop using exactly the same method? Is it possible to unblock the laptop? So I said to myself, okay, how about a backdoor for Linux? So I said 2 steps again. 1, find out how to unblock the laptop. And 2, find a way to pull the trigger in a safe way, an undetectable way, an elegant way, and so on and so forth. A good backdoor must have 2 main features. 1, leave no track or very little track. And 2, be as similar to a ninja as possible. Being undetectable, flying under the minimum height for radar, be a stealth trigger in short. If we have those 2 things in place, it is quite likely that we have an interesting backdoor. So I'm blocking with little or no track. Should I use binaries? No, I don't like them. Rootkits? Well, perhaps. Rootkits work. But there's lots of people looking for rootkits. Under the radar, that's what I'm interested in. Under the radar. I want to be seen by no one. So what happens if I can use functionalities from the operating system itself? If it is the operating system that is executing tasks, there is a bigger chance that my backdoor will not be detected. So I went back to dbus. I said I had a fantastic tool that works really well with enough privileges. It doesn't ask for permissions from anyone. It can access anything. How about accessing things the other way around? So I let aside and started thinking about the trigger. So that it could be undetectable. Has to be quiet, go easy, not perform too many tasks. it must be very cautious. Few interactions and no requests for unusual things. It must be executed without suspicions. The execution, the running environment, or the run environment, has to be quite discrete. If there are calls to system files or to user files, or it tries to write something onto the MBR, these are unusual things, very easy to detect. Nowadays, anti-malware systems are very sophisticated. They know what to look for. It's like the cat and the mouse. It's like finding this new vector, which is undetectable. If I dress as a purple elephant, and you're looking for purple elephants, you will include purple elephants in your database. But if I change my disguise and I dress as a green elephant, you will probably not detect green elephants for a few days. So I said to myself, it has to be completely different. I have to dress myself as a helicopter, not as an elephant. So it's completely different, completely disruptive. And of course, that trigger should be made available in all laptops. That is one of the more difficult things. They're all different. We have different releases, different softwares, different firmwares. It was difficult to see what could tick all the boxes here. So I said, keylogging, we know this doesn't work, is one of the first things we look for with malware. Open ports, of course not. Suddenly there's an open port, any anti-malware software will detect that there is an open port that was not open before. And the same goes for a process that are capturing my keylogs. How about hardware? Hardware is very interesting because no one or very few software applications pay attention to hardware itself. Why? Because the amount of interrupts and changes in the state of hardware is so wide that if there was a software that could detect everything, it would render the laptop unusable, because there's hundreds, there's thousands of things. You would detect thousands of false positives. There's lots of interactions when you're doing things using hardware. So what happens if we use a hardware trigger? First of all, it has to respond when the laptop is blocked. We need to take for granted that the laptop will be blocked when under attack. So the interaction with hardware has to respond when the laptop is blocked. 2, the operating system cannot interfere, because if we really want to establish an actual interaction with the laptop, the operating system might be looking. If it's looking, the antivirus software might be looking as well. We cannot have the antivirus software looking carefully. So we must have no interferences from the operating system. And the third thing is that that trigger cannot be disruptive, because changes in hardware might lead to the laptop shutting down, blocking, or going to a state where we cannot recover the laptop anymore. So bearing in mind these 3 basic requirements, network connections, too disruptive. The operating system does interfere. We have the network port configured for auto login, hot plug, or whatever. There is a switch, and the operating system operates with DHCP and things like that. Too many interactions. And then it's very easy to detect changes in the connection, generating alerts. Even the disconnection itself could create an alert. So it's too many detections, too many interactions. Network connection doesn't tick the box. Screen brightness, I was really excited with this. Screen brightness is an interesting thing. The operating system doesn't handle it in an interactive way. It responds. For example, I'm lowering the brightness and the operating system says, okay, fine, that's it. Why did I have to forget screen brightness? Because screen brightness cannot be handled when the laptop is blocked. Block your laptop and try to modify brightness. It doesn't respond. It's closed by default. How about power? Power I discarded for other reasons. It might work. Power tells the operating system, and the operating system responds saying, okay, However, power might be a problem because if the battery is dead or configured so that when the power is off, it has to die, game over again. So power has to be discarded. So then what? And here goes the first question, a t-shirt in exchange for the answer. What do you think could respond when the laptop is blocked? No interference from the operating system and not being disruptive. And at the same time, it must remain undetectable by antivirus software and must be made available to all laptops in the market. Don't move the slide. You don't have any authorization from me to respond. In exchange for a t-shirt, someone has an answer? The keyboard might be detected with a keylogger. Your backdoor must be looking at the keyboard. It might well be that someone says, look, there's someone looking at the keyboard. It has to be a keylogger, game over. Sorry, we're not getting sound from people not using a microphone. The microphone. Exactly. You're nearby. You earned your t-shirt. A round of applause.
El micrófono aplica en la categoría.
The microphone is the close brother of what I tried. I went to the audio jack. What happens with the audio jack? Why is it so powerful? First of all, detection of changes in state is purely mechanical. There's no interaction with software. It's not like connecting HDMI or using a network port or a USB device. The operating system cannot do anything, whatever state it is in. When you connect your headphones, the circuit is closed and the sound device sends information to the headphone. There's no way to stop this, okay? That's how it works. So by default, the circuit is closed and the info goes another way. With the laptop lock, whatever, it doesn't matter because it's purely mechanical. So hardware wins over the operating system. It defeats the operating system. The only thing is, I connected headphones, so stop sending audio through the speakers. The operating system says, okay, I'll send you audio through your headphones. And that's hardware. It is not asking for permission. It does it, and then the operating system finds out. So that would be a way. That would be a way. And then who checks this? Who checks this? If anyone here is working on anti-malware, if they tell me they detect malware, I'll give up and I'll become a butcher. I'll give up. I'd love someone coming along saying my software would detect something like that because it would be an excellent key point for sale. Anti-malware doesn't detect changes in hardware because there would be too many resources involved and the laptop will become very unstable. And then it's not worth a while to detect changes in hardware. That's what I've been told. Not exactly like that, but that's what people in the industry have told me. So they're not into hardware detection. So audio jack, again, 2 steps. We need to read this file. That might change depending on the distribution you're using. There's probably, this is the path, either this or with very slight changes, and then look for changes. Let me show you the jack.py demo. By the way, if you play around with your connector, you may ruin the soundboard in your laptop. It will go wild. Okay, you may damage your laptop with it beyond repair.
Con una compu vieja que no les moleste romper el jack. Entonces,
So, what I'll do is show you the contents of this file and see how it interacts with our headphones. So we have the sound card and codec 0 here. Okay, so this is my sound card, a Realtek card. Where is it? Here we have the nodes. Each node handles a different part of the sound card. In this example, we have the playback volume with headphones. Each one has different piece of information. For example, bit rate, hertz, everything related to the features of that sound card. And then we have other things. And the one I'm really interested in is this one, number 14. Speaker playback switch. Very nice. What this does is the object inside this file looks for the switch with the connector for the headphones. Is it on? Is it off?
Parse esa info.
So in order for us to get this info is enough, as you can see now on screen. So I now take my super hacking tool. You can buy it on my website for the good amount of $60,000. I will plug it into the ear jack. So now it's well connected. That's good. We got this as embedded, and this is I'm not in.
Una variable fija como para yo confiar. Pero
So the pins is our binary files, 0, 40, 0, 14. So far so good. Small problem. What happens with the second shirt? What happens in the victim wants to use their headphones. So the guy wants to go to the toilet with their headphones connected. His laptop won't ever be a block on listening to the music. How can we handle this problem? Imagination and power, please. Let's make an educated guess. Somebody speaking at the background, at the back of the room. The amperage, different amperage, for me to mantle, to set up the spectrum. Oh, there is a smart way. So it's the gray shirt over there. No sound from the floor. Taking on, taking off. That's good. You got the shirt. We put it on and we'll remove. This is it. Good imagination. Very simple. We create a pattern for the states that not never be connected or disconnected. So our laptop is reacting to what we really want to react. So we install some every second checks. 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0 disconnected, 1 connected. Block is like the football game. I like you laugh at what I'm saying. You discovered the game I'm playing. So checks every 1 second. If we replicate this with our headphones, we can match the buffer which is filling in. Our script is checking every second. Is connected. 1 is not connected. 0. When I generate the pattern, it wakes up and executes. This is the demo now on screen. Back to I blocked the laptop. Once again, I type in the password and I grab my super tool and I connect and disconnect. Now it's disconnected. So 0, 1, 1, 1, 0. Here we go. It's a super fun job. The thing you are doing now. The size is also a tool to take into place. 27 code. You don't need a super mega script to do so. Although another alternative is the state of screen. You read 2 steps. Reads as ys power wake up underscore count accumulates when the laptop is in repose. So at that moment is increase 1. So depending on that amount, I will set up another script taking the value from then on adds to other values. There is a disruptive thing. The disruption here is that the problem is that the laptop can be set up to go down if the screen goes down. I don't know. Now it's running properly. We got it. That's phenomenal. Doesn't mind. You have to block it before. No tricks here. I run it. I block my laptop. Now the screen. Now it turns off. Just there. The wake up starts counting there. I go up. We got it. I get it down. It turns off, and when I get it up without touching the keyboard, this is it. We got it. Oh, super fan job. The aftertaste. How can I mitigate this aftertaste? Bad news. Right now it's difficult to mitigate it because it's inside the DBUS. Should I take the DBUS again? No. Would be sticking out the hypothalamus from the brain for the brain not being working, unfortunately. So this won't solve anything. It may be sorted out the problem, but oh. So may I disenable the screen lock? But exactly, okay. If you disable it, the vector disappears, but you cannot block the laptop any longer. You literally need to shut up the section. Another way to mitigate a more efficient way is to change the XDM for a minimalist one as MBCC, which they're interact with the screen lock. You can move forward. Unfortunately, if we have some X Shinoma here, is any of you having it? KB minimalist like XVCs? Oh, that's wonderful. So many hands up here. I didn't expect it. Reasonably, please, right now, test it on your computers and laptops. Should be executed before it's a backlog. That's why it's called backdoor. Yes, you can inject it very quickly. As you may know, Python can do concatenations of things, and I can put it in some code or repository instead of breaking the sys. So you could put it on some Python, all the remaining ones would have been infected with the key to the backdoor or compromising another distributor. You can put the backdoor in the repository of the company. It's a line Python, which is totally unnoticed. Can be persistent, yes, on RC local, and the laptop is persistent. How big is this? 27 lines dirt and 1 line clean. What are the good characters? It does not execute, of course, no binaries. You don't need to reverse to compile. You only need to have Python. You have Python or DBA use DBAS. Oh, that's the good point. And until now, with all the knowable methods, I see it as virtually undetectable. There's nobody that can constantly check out just change of software. It's very easy for you to open a Python. I wonder about this. If you don't have the DBAS module, but the machine is working, your laptop is using another different model down DBAS. Check it out at home. Can you do it? A root ESBet. When the root is connected on X, the lock is disabled due to the fact of the architecture as you are starting the session as root. You won't be able to knock and block the screen. If root bytes is configuring the screen, it would be as usable as the rest of the user. There won't be any limitation whatsoever, even though you are not a privileged user. WinDBus libraries can be implemented on Windows. WinDBus won't be implemented very normally. We also have CON, RPC, and DTTE with very similar functionals that can be also vulnerable. We can do shell shocking. Yes. It's a shell shock is a null attack. This can be concatenated with any kind of remote code execution system. All the attacking vectors thought of about now, due to your security experience, when the RCD is applicable, new functionality is applicable. I won't put a bug in binary. I don't break anything. I inject it with RC this line of code and I leave it there. And when you are not paying attention, I plug in my headphones. I pretend to be to computer. So I'm connected with my laptop through a console. There are so many vectors, C, G, DNS. All these shell-shocking methods are usable and from on your imaginations. You can do it through Java, Red Hat, and so on, so on, so on. So many things found on Red Hat that allow to inject code instead of injecting these 27 lines that are transparent. It's okay. Think of how to inject this. So I'm on my laptop, which is the one you can see now on screen. This is the very same laptop on a normal session, and I will lock the script. Always on top. CA shock. Doing the equal vulnerable bash, this is a test. It's going to be run. Clearly, this teleps is very vulnerable to shell shock. This is putting the very same stuff with echo import dbus time os signal as ys and yf not, and it's executed shock2 sh, and here we go. We got it. The likelihood that this happens is low because the server has to be authenticated and locked and left in the data center. But so many remote executions you can do with all these vectors. Instead of putting in place a metaexploits method, your laptop will be constantly vulnerated. Next steps for those who wanted to help me out myself. All type of RC is expressed. You can write a Mexploit module. You can inject and shut down the session. This is it. An antivirus one won't pay attention to this. And the laptop is linked with an entry method, which is different. Third method is pen testing tools. If you like to do so, you can find me outside, and we can converse for a little bit. This is the final step of my presentation. Thank you very much.
No sé si hay preguntas.
Should you have questions, please? This is the moment. Raise your hands, those of you who want to ask a question. Thank you.
Hola.
Hello. In reality, I am like the guy yesterday with the reversing sound coming back. I have 3 questions for you. First question. Barra Pros would not be enough to do these files on Barra Pro. Barra Prog, I'm using it to read the state of the audio board. The block is the best. I mean the block. I mean the blocking. Your blocking system, please. Your blocking system to block the laptop using the audio board. I mean the blocking system for USB with this device. It's not enough to use the bar profiles. Are they needed? We don't need to use the BUS. The blocking function is executed by the BUS. In order to implement your tool, do we need to use the BUS, or by seeing the files on Pro on the USB devices would be enough? Of course, you can use them. You can go through these vector, but how can you execute the vector of canceling the screen? How can you revoke a USB device? I have configured this device, for example, and I lost my pen drive. If you left it persistent, you have to initiate with a rescue disk and to take out of the RC locally the execution of the Python, or go directly to the Python and change it for the new pen drive conditions. I had another question. Would be the system vulnerable to this kind of devices, USB devices identified as USB keyboard? When they are detected, they inject decoders. It would be 1 second bit that gives time to open the terminal, kill your process. And it's not actually with a rubber ducky. You can do a very small payload, initiating as a keyboard, and injecting the payload on a registry. And locally, you can use it. You can use it as an injection vector. You should be on the physical laptop. You know how rubber ducky works. The payload script inject to put it on the RSC locally, and that's enough. Another question, please raise your hands clearly, please, and stand up. I have a question for you, Matias. This is also have a check. Can you develop this a little bit? Andre has so many limited things. Is native Linux taken from the last vulnerability from you get developed by Google. It doesn't appear on Google. DBUS is not presented in the very same way in Android. We cannot proceed with the attack in the same way. We cannot exactly attack Android in the same way. I clarify. We cannot exactly do it. This is the very same attack on Android. I have a question. Tensi, are you familiar with Tensi? How can we implement something similar on Tensi with a audio jack for it to see some headphones which are not headphones? We can try it, but we can bypass the mechanical detection of the ear jack connection. I can simulate connection, but the mechanical part is always to be closed within the circuit. I can picture it. So far, so good. I got a question here for you, which is, I can hear you now. Good afternoon. Related to the romance questions, some Android such as Nexus 4 on the chat, they have a debugging interface. If you connect the jack with the resistance and amperage correct, we have the console on Android. Did you something similar in the laptop world? Not a thing I saw. As previously we audited the file, we could detect the amperage in order to conduct secondary and parallel activities. You can put these headphones instead of the other one. So far, so good. Matias, thank you for your wonderful presentation. Matias, hardware Backdooring X11 with much class and